Now let's move on to accessibility. This is where we're getting into some new territory with repositories, which hold data and/or metadata, and persistent identifiers, which give your data a unique, citable label to make it easy to locate. When thinking about preserving digital data, you have to separate short-term from long-term storage. During the course of the project, data changes frequently, and it's almost entirely up to the researcher to take care of things. However, storing data long-term after the project is over is a little different. Because the data are not being altered and don't need to be accessed frequently, it's possible to outsource the responsibility. For example, you could store it and share it in a trusted repository. However, the levels of sensitivity of your data determine where you can store it and who is allowed to access it. Restricted data like personally identifiable information, health information, student education data, and human subjects data, especially those from vulnerable subjects like children or prisoners, need extra privacy protections and can't be shared openly. Additionally, data use agreements and institutional review board protocols can spell out security requirements. Make sure to take these things into account when choosing where to store your data for both the short and the long term. Fortunately, there are reputable, secure data archives that allow for sharing data under restricted access conditions. Here are a few examples. ICPSR, or the Inter-University Consortium for Political and Social Research, was established in 1962 and is a disciplinary data repository focusing on the social and behavioral sciences. They offer in-depth curation of data, including documentation and data review and enhanced metadata. They're also experts in the protection of sensitive data and can help de-identify data and offer several options for restricting access to approved researchers. CSU is a member institution, which means that CSU affiliates can sign up and log into ICPSR with your CSU email. This grants you access to data that's limited to member institutions. The Qualitative Data Repository specializes in qualitative and mixed methodology data. They began with a focus in political science, but are open to data from any discipline. Like ICPSR, they have expertise in de-identifying data and offer access controls on sensitive data that's shared. They also offer curation services for a fee. Databrary is a protected access repository that specializes in video data. And dbGaP is the database of genotypes and phenotypes that is supported by NIH and the National Center for Biotechnology Information. If you're working with Indigenous populations, it's important to consider the CARE principles for Indigenous data governance along with the FAIR principles for data sharing. The CARE principles center Indigenous peoples' worldviews and reinforce their right to participate in decision-making about how their data are used and controlled. When you archive and share your data in a repository or database, these resources provide a place to put data and metadata, a unique ID for each data set, a way to find the data, and specific discovery metadata requirements. You can look for repositories for your discipline or data type using Re3Data, a registry for data repositories. Many publishers that require open data associated with publications will direct you to all-purpose data repositories like Dryad and Figshare, but be aware that there could be fees associated with submission. Many institutions have their own digital repositories that house data from their institutions. CSU's digital repository fills this role for data and all other types of scholarly output. The CSU digital repository, called Mountain Scholar, already houses over 180 data records and meets the requirements that funders and publishers have for data sharing. And the best part is that it's free for datasets under 1 terabyte in size and a one-time fee for larger datasets. You can share open access copies of articles in Mountain Scholar too, and these can be linked to their associated datasets. If you want to put your data in our repository, it's a nearly automatic process. First, look over the instructions in the How to Submit page. I can help you get your data and metadata in good shape for submission and write the Dublin Core metadata for discovery. Then you can upload your files, agree to our deposit agreement, and we'll give you a permanent citable URL for your data. If your data is associated with a manuscript that's under review, we can make the data available at a private URL and then make it public later after the article is published. Here are some of the ways that digital repositories make your data more accessible. Another feature that affects accessibility are stable identifiers. These are an improvement over regular URLs because they're permanent, but they're still linkable through a web browser. Common unique identifiers that fit both of these criteria are digital object identifiers, or DOIs, and handles, both of which we use in CSU's digital repository.